Good morning. I'm City Attorney Elliott. Thank you for joining us. California has passed some of the most effective laws in the nation, and fatalities have decreased. In fact, Attorney General Bonta, who is here with us this morning, found that there would be 140,000 more Americans alive today if other states had managed to get their gun violence rates down to California's level. One of the best tools we've developed are gun violence restraining orders, sometimes called red flag laws or GVROs or ERPOs. GVROs are court orders that allow us to temporarily remove a firearm from a person who is a danger to themselves or to others. In San Diego alone, GVROs have helped us to take 3,700 weapons off of the streets. That is one of the reasons that San Diego is one of the safest big cities in America. I am proud to announce that our region has received more than $4 million in state grant funds, and that this funding will lead to one of the most significant expansions of gun violence prevention work in California since GVRO laws passed 10 years ago. My office refers to this effort as Gun Violence Prevention 2.0. The grant funds will help us better identify dangerous people so that we can get court orders requiring them to surrender their firearms. We will expand our work not just to GVROs, but to all California gun-prohibiting civil orders. And then, with the assistance of the newly formed San Diego Countywide Gun Relinquishment Task Force, we will make sure that the firearms are surrendered. This task force will help us to be more efficient, work smarter, and make our communities safer. The task force had its first meeting last week, and it is already off to a strong start. Our membership includes local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies, and all of us are committed to protecting our communities. In addition to starting a regional task force, the grant funds will allow my office to continue to train law enforcement agencies throughout the state. We've already provided training in 39 counties, and we field calls from law enforcement partners across the state every day. Our expanded work will include accessible training materials and public service announcements. Our collective work creates a roadmap to gun violence prevention, and we hope to inspire other regions to follow our lead. Many of you know that the effort to stop gun violence for me is personal. The law creating GVROs was passed following a tragic shooting at my alma mater, UC Santa Barbara. One of the sponsors of that law is here with us this morning. He is a tireless advocate for gun violence prevention, California Attorney General Rob Bonta. Thank you for being here, Mr. Attorney General. And now over to you.
Thank you. I want to say thank you to City Attorney Elliott for her ongoing leadership in this space. Really proud to say that California leads the nation when it comes to addressing gun violence prevention, common sense gun laws that make our communities safer. And within California, San Diego has led in California. Truly been a model for how to use evidence-based, data-driven solutions that work, that prevent firearm violence from happening in the first place. So I know this is a point of passion for the city attorney. It's also been an exemplary policy and approach that others can learn from. I often say when something is working in California as it is when it comes to the use of gun violence prevention orders and other prevention orders, I don't want the rest of California to be deprived of those approaches, those systems, those policies, those initiatives that work. So today is a day to celebrate the expansion of that work, of that impact that San Diego has already had in the city, and now it's going regional. Full use of all 9 of the protective orders that remove firearms from folks who, after due process and a court order, have been deemed to be too dangerous and unsafe to have the firearm. So removed legally, appropriately to keep our community safe. We often talk about gun violence restraining orders and domestic violence restraining orders, appropriately so, but there are 7 others orders that we need to focus on as well. There's criminal protective orders, civil protective orders, orders addressing juveniles and our seniors, addressing violence in the workplace and violence in higher education, emergency protective orders, all each of which can save lives. So, one thing I want to say, the biggest thing I want to say is thank you to San Diego for showing the way. Thank you for showing what collaboration looks like. You have the mayor, you have the U.S. attorney, the police chief, the city attorney, working here towards a common goal, teaming up, putting in resources, working for the benefit of our community. That's what the people of San Diego and of California deserve, and that's what they're getting here in San Diego. So I'm proud to do a small part to help highlight the efficacy of these policies. They work, and when protective orders work, we should use them more. San Diego knows that. They've used them more than anyone else, any other jurisdiction in the state. And it's not because they're overusing it, they're using it appropriately, within the rules, with appropriate due process, when the facts and the law dictate it. Other jurisdictions need to do what they're doing. Use these robust tools more. Take advantage of them to keep our community safe. So I want to say thank you to San Diego for showing the way, for being a model. We've been able to highlight these policies through some of our reports in our bully pulpit as California Attorney General. Also been able to pass support laws and secure budget allocation to invest in the more robust use and amplification of these policies. We helped secure a $2.2 million grant through our office, and then we were supportive of the law that led to the $2.3 million grant, $5.5 million on the street here in San Diego to make communities safer. And we will continue to provide support, including from our Armed Prohibited Persons System, our APPS team, which removes guns from the hands of those who are legally prohibited from having them, and our Office of Gun Violence Prevention as well. America leads the world, unfortunately, when it comes to gun violence. We lead the world in many great things. This is a tragic area that we lead the world in. 45,000 Americans lose their lives every year because of a firearm. We have more mass shootings every year than we do days in the calendar year. The leading cause of death for our young people is firearms, and that is something we cannot accept. California has stood up and declared we will not accept the unacceptable, and we have pushed back. San Diego has helped lead us here in California. California is a blueprint and a model for what can be done when you follow the evidence, when you follow the data, when you use common sense. We, over the course of 30 years, have become a state, moved from becoming a state that was one of the leading states in the nation when it comes to firearm mortality to one of the lowest firearm mortality rates in the nation. We have a 40% lower firearm mortality rate than the rest of the nation, as was mentioned. And it's because the stat is about real lives, not just numbers. If every other state had the laws enacted on the books that California has had over a course of 10 years, 140,000 Americans that are not with us today would be with us. And so what we're doing here in California works, and we need to lean in to what works, amplify the effective tactics that we're using, and today is proof positive of that. San Diego is doing it. An example of the gun violence restraining order working was the city attorney's office secured a gun violence restraining order when an individual went on Facebook and threatened to shoot up a gay bar. They prevented a potential mass shooting. And look, we see the headlines when mass shootings occur. You don't get a headline when a mass shooting is avoided, when it's prevented. If you did, San Diego would be front and center. Everyone would be talking about them and their work to prevent gun violence, to prevent mass shootings, because they're doing it the right way. We will be seeing a more robust use of all the 9 protective orders, as well as something that's very important, relinquishment. There's the protective order, which orders an individual to have the gun removed, but then there's the actual removal. And the recent U.S. Supreme Court case that many of us have been focused on and saw a recent ruling on, the U.S. versus Rahimi case, the facts of that case are our teaching moment here. There was a gentleman, Mr. Rahimi, who had a protective order issued against him, but he continued to have access to weapons for over a year, during which time he used the weapons to threaten others. He used those weapons and shot at others for over a year. It is important that we remove the guns as near in time to the moment of prohibition as possible. At the moment is best practice. When you become prohibited legally, your gun should be removed. 24 hours, 48 hours, as soon as possible to avoid any harm and to maximize public safety. So the San Diego Task Force will continue to emphasize and prioritize relinquishment as well. And so that's quite a number of statistics, vignettes, but the top line here is San Diego's approach, which they have used in the city of San Diego, makes our communities safer, makes them safer from gun violence, makes our schools safer, makes our neighborhoods safer, our workplaces safer. And these are all places that have been, as part of our national trauma, places where we've seen mass shootings, everyday places, places where we lead our lives. Those places will now be safer because of San Diego's approach, and they are bringing that safety to more places throughout the county because of a powerful and robust collaboration and partnership. So I'm pleased to be here to say thank you, to play a small part in helping them amplify their work, and I look forward to the safer neighborhoods and increased public safety that they will create because of their approach. Grateful to be here, and let me next introduce my former colleague in the California State Assembly, incredible mayor of the great city of San Diego, Mayor Todd Gloria. Sorry if I was out of order.
I don't want to get ahead of our U.S. attorney, but also don't want to let down the Attorney General. So let me just switch it up very quickly. Attorney General, thank you for traveling to San Diego today to help us highlight the great work that is happening here in San Diego under the leadership of all the folks that you see behind me, but in particular our City Attorney, Mara Elliott. You know, last week I had the distinct honor of meeting with former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, whose life, in just one instant, was forever altered when she was shot by a man with a gun. And she has made it her life's mission to push policy changes to prevent gun violence. And while she was here in San Diego, she highlighted all the work that we're doing here locally to do just that. As you heard from our Attorney General and from Congresswoman Giffords, San Diego has been recognized as a national leader in protecting the public from gun violence, especially through the use of gun violence restraining orders, a program that is now being replicated across the state, as you've heard. Mara, you and your team should be commended for leading in this space and saving countless lives. I want to ask everyone to give a round of applause to our city attorney and her team. It's been stated, but allow me to repeat, please. More than 1,800 gun violence restraining orders have been obtained since the launch of the City Attorney's program, and over 3,700 firearms have been seized. This result is born out of a recognition that our communities and our people across the country are facing far too many heartbreaks and too many traumas because of gun violence. And we cannot and we should not be resigned to living in a world where gun violence is the norm. And this is why the formation of this task force is not just timely, but it's so very necessary. We need as many tools as we can get for law enforcement to prevent violence and to get more guns off the streets. And we should be particularly keeping guns out of the hands of those who should not have them in the first place. I want to thank our state of California partners, in particular Attorney General Rob Bonta, as well as his State Department of Justice, as well as the California Judicial Council for their incredible support in this initiative. In closing, let me say that for this mayor, for my administration, public safety will always be the top priority. We work in partnership with the city attorney, the San Diego Police Department, our federal, state, and regional partners, and we take critical steps together to ensure that San Diegans are educated about how firearm safety and prevention can protect all of us from gun violence. And by forming this task force that the city attorney is announcing today, we are sending a very clear message. We are committed to ensuring that the community is a safe place to live, work, and to raise families. And we refuse to be passive in the face of violence. Instead, we as San Diegans will come together and keep our people safe And by doing so, we'll make the rest of California safer, and I would say arguably the rest of the nation. So again, kudos to the team here. As the city attorney mentioned before, San Diego is one of the safest big cities in the United States. I give a lot of that credit to the San Diego Police Department, Chief Connolly, and the leadership of Chief Wahl, all the men and women who are here. Thank you for doing the difficult work that you do every single day. And the message, I hope, in addition to the task force that's being created, as you see behind me, federal, state, local law enforcement, all working together with the sole focus on making sure that we stay a safe city. I'm proud of the work that we're delivering here today, and today's announcement will mean that we'll only get safer going forward. And with that, it gives me pleasure to introduce our federal partner, our U.S. Attorney. She's not so new anymore in her job, I don't believe, but has certainly hit the ground running and continue this legacy of collaboration that keeps us so safe here in San Diego. Please welcome to the podium U.S. Attorney McGrath.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Department of Justice is mission-driven to ensure community safety, and gun violence is a direct threat to that priority. While there is no singular solution to the gun violence problem in our country, this task force is evidence of our collective commitment to protecting the public. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of California has placed significant emphasis on addressing gun violence, including fortifying enforcement, strengthening prevention, and expanding federal prosecutions. In the past year, we have substantially increased the number of federal prosecutors handling gun cases. We have partnered with the district attorney to consider a broader array of cases for federal prosecution. And in fact, already in 2024, we have brought 40% more gun cases through the U.S. Attorney's Office than in all of 2023, and there are still 5 months left to go in this year. Given the proliferation of ghost guns, we have also directed greater attention to prosecuting homemade weapons. Since the beginning of the year, federal prosecutors have charged more than 30 ghost gun-related cases, taking hard-to-trace but deadly weapons off the street. Gun violence is a nationwide problem, demanding law enforcement coordination at every level. The U.S. Attorney's Office is working with our local and state partners to support prevention efforts like this task force and to offer federal charging options to bring the federal hammer. We have and will continue to take an aggressive approach in bringing firearms prosecutions, and we will continue to partner at every opportunity to prevent the foreseeable harm of leaving guns in the wrong hands. Thank you, and please welcome next Deputy Chief of the San Diego Police Department, Paul Connolly.
Thank you, U.S. Attorney McGrath, and good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. The San Diego Police Department has made concerted efforts over the past several years to ensure firearms are not in the wrong hands in our communities. Through working with the City Attorney's Office to enforce gun violence restraining orders, San Diego is leading efforts to reduce gun violence. We have already helped many agencies with our GVRO expertise throughout the state. Today marks the next step in keeping our communities safe. The Gun Relinquishment Task Force will expand our efforts so that people ordered to give up their firearms by the courts will be in compliance. SDPD will continue to work collaboratively with the courts and the City Attorney's Office to ensure we are enforcing court orders and protecting our residents. I want to recognize City Attorney and her team for being such a great partner, and the Attorney General for recognizing our work and taking it statewide. With that, I'll turn it back over to City Attorney Elliott.
So that brings us to the end of our prepared presentations. Again, I want to thank our regional partners who have attended today, including our Attorney General who flew all the way from Northern California because this is so important to him. Thank you to Mayor Gloria for making public safety a priority. And we could not be successful without our San Diego Police Department. They have been with us every step of the way from the day we got our first gun violence restraining order back in early 2018. And they even have people lodged in our office to make sure that the program's very effective. So hats off to you. Thank you so much. 3 police chiefs completely on board. We're very fortunate. And I mentioned in my opening remarks that this is just part of the process that we are doing to keep our region safe and hopefully to create a model that others are going to replicate throughout the state. So as part of that, we are creating training materials through a statewide organization that will be accessible to other law enforcement agencies in the state of California and elsewhere. Anybody can access them. But we have also created some public safety announcements because, as we know, people get busy, and when they see something, they forget who they have to say something to. So this is our effort to remind our public that if they see something, somebody is listening, and we know what to do when we get that call. So we're going to give you a just quick little 90-second blippet of what some of our PSAs look like. Then we'll end our press conference, except be available for questions, should you have any. So with that, I'm going to ask our media team to take it away. Crises can happen anywhere, anytime. There is no excuse not to use the gun violence prevention tools that we have in the state of California. Gun violence restraining orders were intended to prevent potential gun violence before it occurs. It is a game changer for potential victims of gun violence.
It sounded like a great idea because, you know, with a lot of the people that I work with in a professional capacity, when things go wrong, they can go wrong quickly. And I don't want to have a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And it makes it way too easy to do something drastic when it's only an arm's length away.
Students came to us and reported that they saw something that looked alarming. That immediately got the attention of administration, and we responded quickly. And working with law enforcement and their use of a GVRO, it was the right tool at the right time.
If you or somebody that you know is concerned about firearm safety, just know that you're not alone and that there are tools out there and professionals out there who are willing to help.
We want the public to know that gun violence restraining orders are a tool that they can believe in.